Why gardening surpasses regular workouts for longevity? That's something I'm going to talk about today, so stick around. Hi, my name is Sachiaki Takamiya. I am the author of the Ikigai Diet and Ikigai Bio-Hacking. Okay, so by the way, have you started exercises, according to the moon cycle? Like sort of gradually increasing your workload toward full moon? Yeah, if you don't know what I'm talking about, please watch my other video. It is called New Moon to Full Moon Workout Plan. Okay, so now recently I've been doing a lot of gardening because it is the soybean harvest season, plus it is the onion planting season. So I'm thinking about gardening. And then today I'd like to delve into the topic of gardening, why it is actually better than regular workout. So please watch the video until the end. Okay, so gardening. I often talk about gardening, and I recommend gardening as one of your exercises in my book, Ikigai Bio-Hacking. Okay, however, I also I also made a video called Blue Zone Exercises versus Modern Workouts, which is better for health and longevity. And then in this video, I kind of concluded that you need both. Yeah. In some ways, modern workouts are more optimal because it is more accurate. You are calculating, exactly the length of workout plus the load of workout and so on, while the blue zone exercises are more natural movement, but it's not necessarily calculated to be optimal. Yeah. Now, however, um, after sharing videos about circa monthly rhythm and circannual rhythm and so on, I have a slightly different idea now, especially in that video, I basically compare the physical biohacking aspect, yeah, but not so much about spiritual and planetary biohacking aspect, which is also critical in Ikigai biohacking. So today, I'd like to compare the two on all three areas: the physical biohacking, spiritual biohacking, and planetary biohacking. Right. Now, so I want to especially pick gardening out of blue zone exercises because, when you talk about blue zone exercises, you also include walking and also sports too, because, Loma Linda, California, yeah, they do a lot of sport. But technically speaking, sports and workouts are different because when you do sports, you kind of do it for fun. Yeah. You don't just do it for the sake of exercise. Yeah. While regular workouts in the gym, yeah, or even like jogging, it's more like you do it for the sake of, workout. Yeah. So there's a difference. But today I'm not going to include those areas, just talk about gardening. Yeah. Okay, and now also the reason why I decided to make this video is recently there's been a lot of videos where science is stressed a lot, and I feel science is a little overrated. I mean, science is great. I mean, I do support, the scientific evidence, and it's wonderful to understand nutrition and what exercises are actually beneficial for certain aspect of our health and so on. So it is great to have science behind this health and longevity field. However, I feel it's a little overrated. And one problem with that is often when you look at the science, you tend to look at only one aspect. That is the nature of science. Yeah. You cannot, kind of measure everything. Yeah. Usually when you decided to look at, for example, you try to look at nutrition, you only look at the nutrition. You don't, look at its sustainability or other things. Yeah. So a good example is when people talk about plant-based diet versus non-plant-based diet, because recently there are a lot of videos about that. People are supporting plant-based or people are supporting animal including diet and so on. And then usually they look at the nutrition. So the animal side people say you cannot gain sufficient nutrient from plant-based diet only. Yeah, but uh, not most, but many of the plant-based diet practitioners are practicing it because of the environmental reason or ethical reason, not so much about the nutritional reason, right? That is the limitation of science because you cannot measure ethical side and I mean sustainable side a little bit, but not so much about ethical side. I mean, you might be able to, but most science don't do that because that's not their field of expertise. So they focus on, things like nutrition, and that can be measured. That is the limitation because when you compare the two, you need to look at all angles, right? Another example is supplement. Yeah. So many people want to recommend, taking supplement as a measure towards health and longevity because it is optimal. Because, I mean, you can, of course, gain enough nutrient from food, but sometimes it is not enough. And if you take in the form of supplement, it is always optimal, right? But again, they're only looking at the nutritional aspect. They're not looking at sustainability or producing supplement and so on, because that's not their field of expertise. Those nutritionists or other scientists not specialized in sustainability, and that is why they don't talk about it, right? Yeah. By the way, supplement and sustainability. Yeah, if you want to know, please watch my other video. It's called "The Truth About Supplement for Health and Sustainability." Right. But anyway, so today I would like to include many aspects to think about gardening and regular workouts. Yeah. Okay, so why does gardening surpass regular workouts for longevity? Or why do I think it surpasses regular workouts for longevity? Um, Now, as a form of exercise, yeah, gardening has a lot of benefits, yeah. So it has a lot of squatting activity. You kind of squat a lot, yeah. So it has a similar effect as squatting. It has a similar effect to squatting, and then it is a low intensity cardio. You depending on what you do, of course, but you kind of move slowly for a long time. So maybe it's not zone two, but definitely zone one. And quite often you are in zone two as well. Yeah. So it's a good low intensity cardio and also strength training for leg muscles and bones. Yeah, because you stand up and then sit down and walk and you do a lot of movement. And when you do that, you use your leg muscles and bones. And it's a good stability training. Yeah. So again, you stand up when you sit down. So it's a good balance workout as well. Right. Okay. So maybe it isn't optimal. Yeah. Compared to regular workouts, when you calculate everything and you apply a specific workout, specific stability training, specific low intensity cardio exercise, the exact length and exact, zone and all thing, yeah, or the specific strength training and so on. Maybe it isn't optimal, yeah, but it is good enough. Yeah, I mean, if you garden, you are more likely to be healthier than people who don't do gardening. Yeah, I mean, you cannot really say by doing gardening is healthier than people who work out regularly, but at least it is healthier than people who don't do anything. So gardening has a lot of benefit, yeah, and it is good enough, yeah, and also it is sustainable. I'm not talking about planetary sustainability in this case. I'm talking about sustainable in the sense that you can continue doing. So it's a doable, it's something you can continue for a long time. And do you know why? Because it has a purpose. Gardening has a purpose. You're not doing it for the sake of exercise. In fact, nobody gardens for exercise. Yeah, you have a purpose that is to grow vegetable, grow food. Yeah, so it has a meaning other than just exercise. Yeah. So the exercise is more like a second product, like byproduct. Yeah, the main goal is to grow vegetables or grow food in general, right? And then, why is it significant? Uh, it is significant because you have to do it. Yeah. Like when I go jogging, for example, sometimes I feel, I don't want to do it today because it's cold outside. Or, if you get up early in the morning, it's still, recently it's dark. So it's dark and cold. You don't want to, get out and go jogging and thing. So if you don't have a steering wheel, you might say, oh, maybe I'll not do it today. And you can do that. Yeah. But with the gardening, you cannot do it. You have to do it because if you don't, then your plants will die. You cannot grow your vegetable. This is your job. You need to do it. Plus, neighbors, they are watching you. Yeah. Now, they don't care if you don't go jogging. If you decided to skip your jogging, nobody notices it, or even they notice it, they don't care. But if you skip your regular gardening chores, then they will notice, especially in the summertime. They say, oh, the weeds are growing in your garden. Yeah. So there is a pressure from your neighbors, right? So, in other words, neighbors support you. Neighbors support your protocol or your kind of health in a way, yeah, because they give you pressure to do it, do work in your garden, do the weeding every day. So you have to do it, right? And the other thing is, especially if you live in the countryside, this is very critical, yeah. Now, when you do some of the biohacking practices, such as cold plunge, let's say, you want to have a cold bath, especially outside, like in the wintertime, it's very cold, right? So let's say you bring your, I don't know, like a big, uh, I don't know, whatever that you have, then you have a cold bath outside. And if neighbors see it, what's he doing? Yeah, is he crazy? What? Right? But if you work in your garden, nobody says anything. So, oh yeah, yeah, he's just doing his work. Yeah. So your activity is supported by the neighbors. It's a common practice in your neighborhood, right? That is why you can continue doing it. And that is why many centenarians in the blue zones do gardening, right? But they don't do cold plunge. Yeah, the community is very important for those centenarians. All right. And also, so I shared the video with you about circannual rhythm, which is the kind of rhythm of the season, 4 seasons, the yearly cycle. Yeah. The actual video title is Circadian Rhythms versus Circannual Rhythms for Health and Longevity. So please watch this video for details. But I noticed that gardening is one of the best ways to feel the circannual rhythms. Yeah. So now I have this soybeans. It's a time to harvest, right? Because it is in that season, right? So gardening makes you live with circannual rhythms. Like automatically, you have to become aware of the seasonal changes. Yeah. In November, you harvest soybeans. Sorry, and then you plant onions, you plant, oats and stuff like that. But then in spring or summer, you have different activities. This is early summer, then I just planted soybeans, and then yeah. So every season has a different activities to do. So you automatically become aware of the seasonal changes. Yeah. And then, but if you work out in the gym, you don't notice that. In fact, the room is air conditioned, and probably the temperature is the same throughout the year. And then sometimes it's easy for you to forget if it's spring or summer or winter. And you probably do the same routine, same workout plan. You do the same length of zone 2 exercise and same amount of strength training and so on throughout the year, right? But that is not the case with gardening. You change your activity according to the season. And now, when you exercise outside, like when you go jogging outside, it's a different story. So I encourage you to do that. I personally think this is much better than working out in the gym. Because of that, you can feel the season too. However, it is not as strong as gardening, yeah, because you are not directly involved with the seasonal changes. Although you feel the changes because temperature changes and now you feel much colder than the summertime and so on. But your activity is pretty much the same. Yeah. You can go jogging for the same length throughout the seasons. Yeah. You might go, for example, 45 minutes of zone to jogging. That's the same in spring, summer, autumn, and winter, right? While gardening, your activity changes depending on the season. Yeah, and also you live according to the circadian rhythm if you practice gardening, because you naturally get up early in the morning and you go to bed earlier too, because you have to live according to the plant. Yeah, you need to adjust yourself to the rhythm of the plant. Yeah, like in the summertime, you work early in the morning because it's cooler, right? During the day, it's too hot to work outside, and then you work late in the afternoon. So naturally, you have the morning sunlight exposure and evening sunlight exposure. Yeah, so gardening helps you live with the circadian rhythm. Right. So living with circadian and circannual rhythm has an impact on our spiritual biohacking. Right. Okay. That is where a spiritual biohacking comes in. Yeah. So gardening is a good form of a spiritual biohacking because you can live with circadian and circannual rhythms. Right. And another benefit of gardening is you eat your organic and local produce. So you have the product, you have the food. Yeah. I mean, in regular biohacking, yeah, you can buy organic food and you can buy local food, but it's different. Yeah, you have your own, and then therefore you always eat organic and local, right? And you have soil microbiome exposure. Now, people talk about morning sunlight exposure, yeah, but not many people talk about soil microbiome exposure, but it is, I think, as critical as sunlight exposure too. Yeah. Now, it's not studied so much in modern science, but there are views that soil microbiome and gut microbiome are connected. Yeah. For example, there's a book called The Hidden Half of Nature. Yeah. Now, this book talks about the connection between soil microbiome and gut microbiome and how it is critical to live with soil, yeah, for your health. And of course, it is good for the planet, for the sustainability of the planet. So the book that kind of talks about sustainability as well. So and then so this is not studied so much in modern science, and we still don't know, but I think it is worth looking at this field, the connection between soil microbiome and gut microbiome. So I'd like to see more studies on it. If there are some scientists who are willing to study on this, I'm happy to see them. Yeah. That brings to the next topic, sustainability, which is critical in planetary biohacking. Right. So now, usually scientists don't talk about sustainability so much, even though they talk about nutrition and they talk about which exercise is beneficial for, what type of, physical ability, or it can prevent what kind of disease and so on. But they rarely talk about sustainability because that is not their field of expertise, right? But and then usually the experts on sustainability don't talk about health so much. They don't provide information on health and longevity so much. So when you are in the field of health and longevity, you don't hear this perception so much. You mostly hear from regular scientists' perception about nutrition and the function of each exercise and so on. Right. But generally, it is said that local organic small-scale polyculture farming creates biodiversity, and therefore it is a sustainable way of farming, and it's a sustainable way of food production, right? And then when you do gardening, you naturally pay attention to the food production, even though you're not farmer yourself. You're just, doing you just have a small garden and growing vegetable just a little bit. So you're not really a farmer, yeah, and you don't know about farming, but still you pay attention to farming because that's what you do. You have an experience, you have a direct experience of touching the soil, growing vegetables and so on, yeah. And then so, for example, in my case, I'm not a farmer either, but I grow vegetables, right? So I pay attention to the fact that is it something I can produce in my garden, or is it something I can produce in my neighborhood or in my community, in my bioregion, really? When I think about food to eat, or when I think about supplement and so on, yeah. For example, avocados, yeah. Okay, we cannot grow avocados in Japan. I mean, we can maybe, but it's not suitable, right? So we need to import avocados from Mexico, right? Okay, so then I think about what happens if the trade stops. For some reason, if the trade stops, then we cannot get hold of avocados, right? Then therefore there's a risk there. Yeah. And then now often people talk about risk factors in biohacking because you want to reduce risk of catching disease or risk of getting injured and so on, right? And that's the same risk. So you need to calculate that. Maybe it is better to find a way where you can find something locally. Yeah. The same thing is true about supplement. Okay. So I ask a question. Can I produce supplement by myself? No, I cannot. Yeah, I don't know how to do it. And then I don't have the enough ingredient because you do need a large amount of, vegetable or fruit or something. Yeah. So I ask a question. Okay, is it possible to produce that many grapes to make Zavato supplement? Yeah. I ask those questions. If you don't garden, you don't pay attention to those things. You don't think about food production. You just think, oh, this is great. It has a great nutritional benefit. You only think about that. So when you are not connected to the environment, it is easy to forget the holistic aspect. Yeah, you only look at the pill, and then this pill is not connected to the soil. Yeah, you cannot even see how it looked like originally. Where that this which plant was it used to make this pill and so on. Yeah, it's completely separate from the natural kingdom, right? Yet you can say science doesn't give a damn about it. But one thing is sure that you can't live longer if the planet is destroyed. Okay? So we don't need scientific evidence to understand this. Even a child can understand it. Yeah. If the planet is destroyed, we cannot live longer. There's no point of taking all those supplements and doing all those exercises and doing deliberate cold exposure, heat exposure, and so on. If the earth is destroyed, no one can survive. That's a basic fact, right? So why are we not talking about sustainability of the planet then? It is critical for us to live longer, but not many people seem to talk about. Many people seem to recommend methods which are not necessarily helping to sustain the planet. Right. So having said that, I'm not saying you should only do gardening and forget about working out. No, of course you can work out. Yeah. And in fact, you can combine the two, just as I said in my other video. Yeah. So do gardening and do additional workouts to support the part that is not optimal. Yeah. So you do need additional workouts to kind of complete your physical biohacking. But please do not ignore gardening. Please include gardening. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. So if you just do regular workout, not garden, you are missing whole bunch of benefits that I mentioned today. And of course, if you are not into gardening, it's okay. You don't have to do it, but at least to become aware of this holistic concept, have holistic understanding of health. Yeah, that means not only thinking about physical biohacking, but think also about mental biohacking, spiritual biohacking, and planetary biohacking. In other words, practice Ikigai Biohacking. Okay, thank you for watching. Again, my name is Sachiaki Takamiya. I am the author of the Ikigai Diet and Ikigai Bio-Hacking. If you like this video, please give me your thumb up and subscribe to my channel. And please leave your comment. Yeah? Do you do gardening? Okay, I'll see you in the next video. Video Ikigai!